It's that time of year and you're looking for the perfect gift under $25. Maybe it's a stocking stuffer, maybe it's a gift exchange, or heck, maybe just a little cheap something for yourself. Well, I'm Norb, your audiophile pal, and you're in the right place. I'll be covering both wired and wireless earbuds, IEMs, and headphones, and a little bit extra so you can buy with confidence. And let's be clear, even at this level, you can absolutely find fantastic sounding stuff on the cheap. Before we start, a few quick notes. First, there are no sponsors on this list. Everything you see here, I bought myself. Second, every price that I mention here is suggested retail. So if you look hard, you can probably find them for even cheaper than I mentioned here. I'll touch on this whenever I can. Third, I've linked everything I mentioned in the comments below. I do make some commission from those, so just a heads up. Finally, I've done a couple of other gift guides at different price points, a little bit more expensive, and I'll link to those at the end of the video. With that, let's get started. First, I'll start with earbuds, or IEMs if you're fancy like that. My favorite this year has been the Moondrop Chew 2. These come in at just $19, although I was able to snag them for $17 during a Black Friday sale. They are an excellent way to get audiophile sound on the cheap. In fact, I am honestly amazed at just how well tuned these are. Good representation across ranges, clear sound, and tonally balanced. Neutral, but with a very slight emphasis in the upper mids to my ears that gives them some good clarity without making them shouty. They also have a decent bass response, which makes them fine for genres like lo-fi and chill hop, which I listen to all the time. And they're good for just about everything else, especially jazz and classical. I am a bit of a bass head, and if you want something with a little bit more kick here, check out the K-Bear Rosenfinch, which will run you between $20 and $25, or you can get yourself an impedance adapter, which should help bring up the bass some, and they'll all cost you about $5 or $10 extra. Another good alternative is the Truth Ear Holla, which runs about the same price as the Chew 2, $19, and I regularly see these for $16. These have a similar tuning to the Chew 2, but a slightly warmer sound. Personally, between the two, I prefer the Chew 2 over the Holla. Moving on to wired headphones, I've really come to like a lot of what Koss has done, and for $20, you'll want to consider the Koss KSC 75. Now, with these, you get sound quality that punches way above its price range, and I know they look wonky, but I'll talk about that in a second. They're fantastic for music and movies and have a slightly warm sound, so definitely not an overpowering bass, but an extremely comfortable sound that is still detailed with good representation and clarity across ranges. Sure, they may seem a little wonky to put on at first, and they are because you hook them behind your ears rather than actually putting them over your head, but I've really come to enjoy that style. Koss has been making headphones for a long time, and yeah, if you think their style looks very retro, that's because it is. They've been making headphones since like the 80s. Now, I really love Koss because it's such an incredible bang for the buck, and they carry a lifetime warranty. Frankly, at $20, you're just not going to find better on-ear or over-the-ear headphones. Now, if you're going to use these with your phone and your phone doesn't have an audio jack, you will need an adapter. For that, I highly recommend Apple's dongle, which comes in either USB-C or Lightning. These normally sell for about $9, and for that, you get an audiophile grade DAC that can easily drive literally everything that I mentioned on this entire list. It delivers 24-bit sound at 48 kilohertz, and it can both output and input sound. It can both output great sound and record sound at high quality. In fact, unless you have a really good reason, most people will be perfectly happy with this level and never need anything more. You don't need to spend a ton to get great quality sound. Now, a quick note, I am talking about the US version. I keep hearing that there's a different European version that delivers half the power, but that's something that I haven't been able to verify because I haven't used a European version myself. Still, just to be clear here, the version I'm talking about and recommending is the version sold in the United States. I've tried to find other great dongles at this price, something more generic, but honestly, just about everything I've tried has been bad, usually in the form of bad volume control, but also because many lack two-way communication, meaning that if your headphones or earbuds have a microphone, they won't work. You won't be able to use them. So if you can, stick with Apple. If you're finding this useful, please be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing. And if you think I've done an extra good job, feel free to hit up the tip jar below. Now, if wireless is more your taste, then here are two I've tried that I can easily recommend. First is the JLab Go Air Pop. These are just $25, although you can usually find them for about $20, and you should be able to find them in most big box stores. They're IPX4 sweat resistance, they have Bluetooth 5.1 for fast pairing, and they make for a perfect stocking stuffer. They're small, they have an integrated charging cable, and they have a really decent sound, which includes 3 settings: signature, balance, and bass boosted. They have a generally warm sound, and both music and videos will sound great. And if you're making phone calls, these actually do a pretty decent job. I did a full review on these, which I'll link above my head in the description below, but this to me is a no questions recommendation. Yeah, they're pretty bare bones, they have a plasticky build, but they do have an 8-hour battery life with 24 more from the case, and this is fantastic for the price. JLab offers more expensive options with extra features and better sound, so if you want to consider those, I would recommend it, but these are my most recommended budget earbuds for a reason. In fact, if you're looking for good wireless stuff at a low price, JLab is always a good brand to consider, especially when it comes to earbuds. No, they did not pay me to say that, I just really believe that based on everything that I tested. Now, a new player on the scene for me for wireless earbuds is Moondrop. Yeah, the same folks who did the Chew 2, which I recommended earlier. They just released the Moondrop Space Travel, and it is amazing. These come in at just $25, though I was able to pick them up for just $21, and what sets these apart are all the features. Active noise canceling, transparency, 3 EQ settings, and the Moondrop Link app, which lets you set up your own touch control scheme. What really impressed me on these was the sound. It is surprisingly good and robust for the price. Pretty much neutral throughout, although you can both boost the bass some and drop it some using the EQ presets. Detail retrieval is better than I expected for the price, with surprisingly good instrument separation, but there is a little bit of a hiss with transparency mode, so if you get that, just press and hold to switch modes. It also handles both the SBC and AAC codecs, which can lead to better sound than just SBC. They do sacrifice a bit when it comes to battery life, with only 4 hours of music playing time and 12 additional hours with the case, but I'm still amazingly impressed with what you get for the price. The noise canceling isn't exactly the best, but it's something, it's still useful. For the price, you will not hear me complain. And for $25, these may be the best on the market, period. I'm rounding this out with wireless headphones, but I'll tell you, this is where I had a hard time finding something that I could confidently recommend. For wireless headphones, there's not really a lot out there at this price. Sure, some stuff dips to this price, but on the whole, just about everything I've tried at this range either sounds exhausting or cheap, or like someone tried to wire 2 potatoes for sound. An exception I found is the JLab Rewind, which comes in at just $25. These are on-ear headphones, so they won't block out any external noise, but they're also light and extremely comfortable. They have a 14-hour battery life, and they look really cool if you're going for that retro chic. The sound signature is warm overall, and it does come with 3 EQ modes, signature, balance, and bass. In truth, I kept it in bass mostly because that's where I felt the sound had the most body. The sound signature itself is very similar to the Go Air Pop I just talked about, although I felt those were generally better. The Rewind are great for things like listening to audiobooks or going out for walks in quiet neighborhoods, but I wouldn't recommend them for trains or busy streets. That's because they do run a little on the quiet side. That's good if you want to protect your hearing, but bad for battery life since the 14-hour rating is based on using them at 50% volume, which is pretty quiet even for me, someone who keeps things very quiet. And they're wireless only, so keep that in mind. Also remember that these are older, so they only have Bluetooth 4.2. That means that it'll take about 10 to 15 seconds to connect to my phone when I connect them, and because they're older, they still use micro USB for charging. Another option is a Skullcandy Cassette Wireless, which run just at over $30. They have better battery life, but likewise, they're older, meaning the same issues with charging and Bluetooth connection speed. Now, I do love Skullcandy stuff, but this went a little bit too far out of the price range for me, which is why I did not include it on this list. Well, there you have it, my recommendations for under $25. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button. Now, if your budget is a little bit higher and you're looking for something a bit extra, I've also done a couple of other gift guides this year at a higher pricing tiers, all the way up to $100. This tier is great, but these days you can get pretty insane values at just a few bucks more, so be sure to check those out. With that, I hope you have a fantastic holiday. Cheers.